foremost, but not so much with facts and figures.
The Washington Post has an extensive story today about how Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and senior advisor, has his own so-called strike force working with HHS and other agencies trying to coordinate the private and public response. But Mr. Kushner's efforts have led to sweeping tensions across the federal government about who exactly is in charge. Is it Vice President Pence and his task force? But people also want to stay close to Kushner, knowing he can call up the president anytime, that he has access to President Trump. So for many bureaucrats within the federal government who work on emergency response and health issues, they have told the Washington Post privately that they are deeply concerned that there's not a chain of command, that they fully understand, and that there are fluid political dynamics with Kushner there, who's involved with the re-election campaign and other efforts, and that has complicated the entire response.
Joe Scarborough, you're coming away with, there's new reporting now in the New York Times, Robert Costa as well, that the government was warned that they were not ready for this. We know that they had already shut down the pandemic office, the office that had been set up during or after, right after Ebola, to handle these kinds of issues in the previous administration. I know there's a lot of blame being shifted back and forth, but at least in the past, the NSC was stood up, and now in 2018, it was stood down. And now the warning is that there had been warnings and that the administration had ignored them.
There are so many questions that remain, not only about the administration's preparedness over the last few years for a pandemic, but about its response after this virus emerged in China and how they handled, in particular, the month of February. And when I was at the Capitol this week talking to House Democrats on background, they are already looking ahead, some of them, to the investigations to come about whether this administration took the necessary steps to prepare, not only at the executive branch level with the National Security Council and pandemic preparedness, but at the federal level across agencies. Was there seriousness in regard to the tests? What did the White House know and what did it not know? And how did they communicate about the pandemic throughout February, late January, and early March? There are many questions that Congress will be asking once this initial crisis is over, hopefully, and then it will become a question of what happened and why.